Good evening and welcome to a very special episode of The Buck Stops Here. I'm Vishnu Shom. Just 2 months back, a young CRPF commandant, Chetan Cheeta, was fighting for his life after being struck by 9 bullets fired by terrorists in an encounter in Jammu and Kashmir. One of the bullets pierced his right eye, destroying the eye, and the bullet exited through the top of his head. Today, Chetan Cheeta is out of hospital. He has survived. It is a tribute to his willpower, his character, that he's able to walk, he's able to speak, and he's survived despite the odds. This is a special program on the story of a very brave CRPF officer. Would you believe that less than 2 months ago, this man received an AK-47 bullet which pierced his right eye and exited through the top of his head? That he also survived 8 other bullets which struck him across his body. Saved first by doctors in Srinagar after his encounter with terrorists in Bandipora, and then by a team of doctors at the Apex Trauma Center at AIIMS, Commandant Chetan Cheeta of the CRPF has today gone home. He can walk 20 steps, he's able to speak, and is entirely alert to what's happening around him. A few weeks back, he was on the ventilator with a hole cut into his throat to enable him to breathe with the support of a machine.
Felt very proud when Chief of Army Staff visited our place. Minister of State for AIIMS, he also visited. So that was also a proud moment. These are the things actually we carry. Proud moments of life. Actually, which you remember when you die. So actually you contributed something to the nation. And people who acknowledge that, that's a great thing.
Cheetah's wife Uma was his ultimate support. The daughter of an army officer, she told doctors at AIIMS, "Don't worry, he'll walk again." He did.
I know Chetan from my childhood, and he has always done what he has said. He's a man of a big willpower, and as a wife, I know whenever he committed me something, he has always done it.
These men and women are heroes in their own right. The doctors who were by the side of Cheetah from the moment he was brought here to AIIMS to the moment that he was discharged. This center deals with more trauma cases than any other facility in the world.
I think I am a firm believer that medicine can do just up to repairing of the injured parts. Beyond that, the will of the person to be fine, to go back to his home, to his duty, and in this man particularly, it was, I would say, he was a great example of...
he was fighting throughout.
Absolutely, he was fighting throughout. We saw him when he was on a ventilator, could not respond. His Glasgow coma scale, which is again a scale for judging the coma, was very low. And from that time to come out of the ventilator and then come out of the ICU is a great thing. I mean, he has shown grit and determination which soldiers are made of.
Chetan Cheeta is an unbelievable example of what sheer willpower and courage can achieve. It'll take him months to be up and about, but what he's achieved is nothing short of a miracle. Vishnu Shom for NDTV. Now, Chetan Cheeta is too weak at this stage to do a full-blown interview, but I did manage to catch up with his wife. She's been the support for him through the last few months, and she was always certain, one way or the other, her husband would survive.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. It's a real triumph for you and your family. Tell us a little bit about the willpower of your husband.
Chetan has always done what he has said. Right from the childhood, I know him from very young time, and he has incredible willpower. Whatever he wanted to achieve, he always achieved that. And other thing I can add on to that, he's a man of a commitment. If he has committed something to someone, he always does it. Right? As I said, I have known him from my childhood, and there has been few instances where he has proven that, and this is one of the when he was going to Srinagar, and I was a bit worried about the operations he was conducting very frequently, and I was a little worried about him. He said, "Don't worry, I will be back to you."
And you want him to be back.
Don't you ever be worried.
And you want him back in CRPF colours.
Of course.
To be back in service.
Of course. There is no doubt.
And he's told you
and
that.
And my normalcy of life will begin only after once Chetan joins back and goes to office.
You're the daughter of an army officer, right?
Absolutely.
So you've seen this culture of service.
Yeah.
And that's what you bring up your children on the basis of, that's what you've been brought up on,
Yes.
and that's what your husband continues to inspire your entire family. That's what drives you, right? The country.
Absolutely.
Okay. There would have been lots of ups and downs in this process. How did you deal with the downs? The times when things weren't going right?
It's God which helps you. There is a strength. It's basically when we always keep remembering, we always talk about the mantra and those things. Basically, ultimately, it is a God which helps you overcome such kind of times.
How is he feeling
And
now?
the vibes which I have always got from my close association, my friends, in uniform services, this is one thing is there that you always have your organization people around you. Everybody, every person has added into that, in keeping me positive, and at last, of course, the doctors.
Yeah. Tell us about those doctors. How did they work with you to save his life?
I think I was a very difficult person for them to be handled.
Why?
Because I wanted my husband to be treated no less than president. Right?
I can
and that
understand.
kind of pressure I was constantly trying to create. Right? And of course, doctors, when they are already working on something, they are their baby. They were already dealing with it, and that constant pressure which was coming onto them, I think they were great in handling that.
Okay. When it's
And
been
their cooperation from the top to bottom, I have seen in trauma center, from top to bottom, everybody has really worked on it. And everything was noticed here.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, and listening to you and your husband very briefly, it just fills us with a great deal of pride. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
If Chetan Cheeta is a hero, there were other heroes as well. Heroes at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences Trauma Center. It's perhaps the largest trauma center in the world, which means that it handles more cases than any other such facility anywhere in the world. And as a result, the doctors and specialists are some of the most experienced, some of the most skilled anywhere in the world. It was this group of doctors that kept the brave CRPF commandant alive. This is their story. Let's start at the beginning. When he was brought here, he was deeply comatose. At that stage, what were the chances of his survival?
So he was brought here on 14th February precisely in the evening, and he was comatose, as you said, and he was in a bad shape. He was not maintaining his blood pressure. He was not. He was on ventilator. He was comatose. He was in a bad shape.
Yeah.
And to be very frank, the chances of survival were very bleak.
At that
I would
stage.
say, yeah, at that stage. So it was a challenge for all of us.
Yep. Dr. Gupta, you were telling us something, come let's walk, something quite interesting, that you have a certain score, and 75 is when a person's life cannot be sustained. At what level was the commandant when he was brought here?
Well, it is generally said that a score of 15 and above is very severe injury. And the commandant probably had a score of around 40. So he was in the category of very, very severe injuries, and that to bullet injuries. These are high velocity missile injuries, and not one but 9 of them piercing through his brain, through his abdomen, through his buttocks, through his both hands. So he was having a very high injury severity score, and therefore statistically speaking, his chances of survival are very bleak, very bleak.
Yeah. Doctor, would you like to tell us a little bit more about these injuries that he sustained in simple terms?
In the head, eye,
Which part of the head?
a frontal portion,
Right.
and eye, then chest, abdomen.
So there was shrapnel.
Yes,
there was shrapnel.
there were
in his-
shrapnels, yeah.
which had to be surgically removed.
Surgically removed.
Yeah.
And he underwent actually the first surgery at the base hospital in Srinagar.
Yeah.
And that was very important surgery at that point of time to keep him alive.
Yeah.
And then he underwent multiple surgeries here. First surgery by the neurosurgeons. They removed the damaged portion of the brain on very next day, and it lasted around 10 hours. That surgery lasted. Then he underwent multiple surgeries for his limb injuries, upper limbs, and then he stayed in the ICU for around 30 days or so, and the total hospital stays precisely 51 days.
One word, willpower. Two words, willpower. I mean, tell us about the willpower of this man. How can medicine only do so much? And after that, it's the willpower of a person.
I think I am a firm believer that medicine can do just up to repairing of the injured parts. Beyond that, the will of the person to be fine, to go back to his home, to his duty, and in this man particularly, it was, I would say, he was a great example of...
he was fighting throughout.
Absolutely, he was fighting throughout. We saw him when he was on a ventilator, could not respond. His Glasgow coma scale, which is again a scale for judging the coma, was very low. And from that time to come out of the ventilator and then come out of the ICU is a great thing. I mean, he has shown grit and determination which soldiers are made of.
Could you just introduce a few of these doctors? They were also part of the team. Could you introduce them?
Dr. Kapil, he's a critical care intensivist physician, and he is with trauma surgery and critical care. Dr. Richa is another intensivist who was looking after Chetan Cheeta in the ICU. Dr. Sushma is the plastic surgeon. She was looking at his wounds and his limb injuries. So it was a team effort basically, and that's what we do at this trauma center. It's not about a single specialty or a single person. It's about doctors, nurses, technicians, all coming together and trying to help out the patient.
Doctor, you were among a group of doctors, the first to see him regain consciousness. Tell us about that moment. When did it happen? What exactly took place then?
It was around 7 to 8 days after the first surgery, the neurosurgery which he underwent, and initially when we were asking him to do the things he was not able to do, but on that particular day he started showing his tongue, moving his limb. It was a great moment of joy for us, and he showed that his brain has recovered and now he can function, and that was a great moment for pride for us.
I must ask you, doctor, what does a moment like that feel like for a doctor, because that's the first sign that he's going to make it?
It feels like a victory. Means you are fighting a battle against all odds, and when you see your treatment getting success, it's an immense pleasure you get it. After hard work, and when you see the results in favor of you, it's an amazing feeling.
And doctor, your role in this would have been to try and fix him up once a lot of the initial problems had been overcome through plastic surgery. How challenging were these operations? Skin grafts would have been an important part.
I would say surgically they were not very challenging. Myself and Dr. Manish, who were the plastic surgeon involved with this patient, the surgery wise he was not a challenging case. But the overall involvement of various organs was important for him. So whether to do that particular surgery at that moment of time was challenging. I mean, a person who's comatose, who has so many other, who has abdominal injuries, so should we go ahead with the reconstruction part at that moment, and when it should be done, when should the infection settle down? So these were the challenging issues. I would say that surgically it was not very challenging for a reconstructive surgery.